Today, I'm going to save you from a specific type of suffering that Stalker 2 loves to inflict. The kind where the game throws you into the zone, gives you half a dozen bits of information, and basically says, figure it out. There are some essential mechanics that the game simply doesn't explain well, and these are exactly what separate a tense but successful stroll from a sequence of stupid deaths and wasted resources. So, if you're tired of running out of ammo at the worst possible moment, bleeding out without knowing why, wasting expensive items for nothing, or walking into an area thinking everything is fine, only to find out too late that it wasn't, stick with me. Here are 7 tips the game doesn't teach you, but that make all the difference from your very first hours and remain vital later on when the zone starts getting truly mean. Come with me, I'm Matthew, and the video is about to start. The zone is already dangerous enough when you're eye to eye with these creatures, so discovering that you can simply hop onto a rusty container or climb a ladder to stay out of their reach feels like finding an oasis in the middle of radioactive chaos. Sure, poltergeists, burers, and controllers are the annoying exceptions that will keep tormenting you even from above, but most mutants will just stand down there, staring at you in rage while you calmly reload. What I love most about this mechanic is how it gives you breathing room in situations that would normally be desperate. Imagine you're exploring a new area, and suddenly 3 or 4 mutants come charging at you. Your ammo is low, and then you spot an old car nearby. Boom! Problem temporarily solved. You climb up, reload, maybe even pop a med kit if you're hurt, and plan your shots calmly instead of panicking and spraying bullets everywhere. This tactic is also perfect for saving resources, which is crucial in Stalker 2, where every bullet and bandage counts. Mutants rarely drop loot worth the effort, so avoiding unnecessary confrontations, or at least having the tactical advantage of high ground, means you'll spend far less on ammo and repairs. It's the difference between leaving an encounter with half your ammo gone and your armor shredded, or leaving practically untouched because you had the presence of mind to find a high point. And there's another cool detail. This mechanic forces you to be more observant and strategic with your surroundings. You start looking at a container or a pile of boxes not just as decoration, but as survival tools. The zone teaches you to use everything it offers to your advantage, and that's exactly the mindset that separates a veteran stalker from someone who's about to become mutant chow. This tip of using anomalies as weapons is the kind of thing that makes you feel like a true zone veteran rather than just another guy walking around with a gun. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing a mutant charging at you, calmly backing away, throwing a distraction, or simply baiting the creature in the right direction, and suddenly, the zone itself does the dirty work for you. It's almost like you're betraying the mutant, using the terrain against it, which fits the cruel and unpredictable atmosphere of Stalker 2 perfectly. What stands out most about this strategy is how much it helps you save ammo and resources, which are always in short supply. Instead of dumping half a mag into a group of mutants, you can lure 2 or 3 at once into an anomaly and let the heavy environmental damage do the job. It's that moment when you realize that surviving in the zone isn't just about having a powerful gun, but about thinking like a hunter. Observe, bait, position, and let the environment do the rest. There's also a strong psychological side to this. When you start playing this way, the way you view the map changes completely. An anomaly stops being just a dangerous obstacle and becomes a tactical tool. You enter a new area already mentally mapping it out. If things go south here, I'll pull the enemies toward that anomaly over there. When that plan works, the sense of control amidst the chaos is incredible, like you're finally speaking the same language as the zone. Naturally, this approach pairs perfectly with a more cautious and calculated playstyle. Instead of running and gunning at everything that moves, you move slowly, listening to sounds, identifying movement patterns, and positioning yourself to always have a useful anomaly nearby. In the end, it's the kind of tip that doesn't just save your life, but also makes every encounter more tense, smarter, and honestly, much more fun to watch and play. When you equip the knife, sneak up slowly from behind without making a sound and finish an enemy with a single strike. It gives you a sense of total control over the situation. It's the kind of play that's not only efficient but stylish. especially when you clear an entire camp without firing a single shot. The strongest point of this approach is how it solves two problems at once: noise and resources. You don't draw the attention of other enemies, you don't alert the whole area, and you save ammo, which is never something you can afford to waste in Stalker 2. Instead of engaging in a firefight with an entire group while at a disadvantage, you dismantle the threat piece by piece, always starting with the most isolated enemies in the rear. Another cool detail is that these silent takedowns synergize well with careful exploration and reading the environment. You start paying more attention to soldier patrols, their routes, who wanders off from the group, and who gets distracted looking the other way. The zone rewards this calculated gaze, and the knife becomes an extension of your patience and intelligence, not just a last resort weapon. As a bonus, there's a better chance of getting higher quality loot from the armor of enemies you take down cleanly, without riddling them with bullets from afar or blowing them up with grenades. The less you ruin their gear, the higher the chance of looting something in good condition to sell, use, or scrap. These silent takedowns aren't just a cool way to play, they are a direct investment in your survival and your wallet within the zone. This shared stash is practically a godsend for anyone who plays Stalker 2 as a loot goblin. Knowing that the yellow chest, like the one in Hamster Shop in Zalicia, is linked across all bases takes a massive weight off your shoulders, literally. Instead of suffering with weight limits every time you clear a camp or return full of scrap, you already know. Once you reach a base, open the chest, dump everything inside, and head out light for your next incursion. What makes this even better is that in practice, it's an unlimited space. It feels great to be able to store backup weapons, ammo you aren't using right now, mods, meds, artifacts, and all sorts of valuable later junk without having to play mental inventory, Tetris. You don't have to make rush decisions like, do I throw this away or keep that? Because, you can always make a pit stop at a base and offload everything safely. Another point is how this changes the pace of the game. Instead of returning to base only when you're nearly over-encumbered and immobile, you start organizing your routes by thinking of faction hubs as logistical support points. You finish a mission, drop by a base, store everything in the yellow chest, restock what you need, and head out ready for the next objective. It becomes an experienced stalker's routine. Fight, loot, store, plan. Ultimately, this shared stash encourages a more complete playstyle. You feel free to pick up everything you find along the way, test different weapons, hoard resources for the late game, and even save items just in case, without that constant fear of running out of space. It's like having a personal warehouse spread across the entire zone, always waiting for you, and that fits perfectly with the fantasy of being an organized survivor amidst the chaos. In the early game, when every single casing is worth more than many of the crappy guns you find lying around, holding the interact button on a dropped weapon just to extract the ammo is practically a hidden superpower. You don't clutter your inventory with junk you won't use, but you still come out ahead with what actually matters: bullets. The coolest thing is how this changes the feeling of looting. Instead of looking at a broken gun and thinking it's not even worth picking up, you start seeing everything as a source of ammunition. Old gun on the ground? Enemy dropped a rifle you don't want? Doesn't matter. What counts is squeezing out every shot left inside it. It's like scavenging for scraps on the battlefield, which fits the desperate and realistic vibe of Stalker 2 perfectly. In your inventory, this same logic works as a great filter. Instead of filling your backpack with 5 versions of the same gun just because they came with ammo, you hold the button, unload everything, and then toss the gun or sell it later if it's worth the effort. This keeps your inventory much more organized and focused on what truly has value: ammo, bandages, artifacts, and the 1 or 2 guns you actually trust. In the early game, this economy makes a massive difference. When you don't have much money, don't have easy access to well-equipped traders, and every encounter is a real risk. Every extra bullet you strip from a discarded gun is a small victory. In the end, it's not just a technical tip, it's a survival mentality, making the most of everything the battlefield offers without carrying dead weight for nothing. Walking slowly in Stalker 2 is one of those details that many people ignore, but it completely changes how encounters play out. When you hold the button to walk slowly, you can feel that your character is more in control of the situation, both in terms of footstep noise and weapon precision. It's almost as if the game rewards you for playing calmly instead of running through the zone like a madman. In stealth, this makes an absurd difference. By walking slowly, you can flank enemies, get closer without giving away your position, and pick the best target to initiate the fight. The feeling of creeping around a corner, overhearing enemy dialogue, positioning yourself, and opening the combat with a clean headshot is much more satisfying than trading shots in the open because you ran too fast and were heard from a mile away. Regarding aiming, walking slowly helps immensely with precision shots. Instead of your gun swaying because you're moving fast, the slow pace makes headshots much more consistent, especially with rifles and medium to long range optics. It's the kind of detail that makes a difference in a gunfight against multiple enemies. You drop one or two very quickly with headshots and reduce the chaos before they can even react properly. This tip is essentially a reminder to fight the sprint everywhere reflex that comes from other shooters. Stalker 2 rewards those who respect the rhythm of the zone. Walk slowly, observe, listen, position yourself, and only run when you absolutely need to. Once you internalize this, you'll notice you're dying less, wasting less ammo, and winning more fights because you stopped playing on autopilot and started playing with intention. Avoiding the slaughter of rival factions in Stalker 2 is one of those decisions that seems easy in the heat of the moment, but can snowball for the rest of your campaign. The temptation is high when someone gives you a dirty look with a gun in their hand, but the zone has a memory, and once you cross that line, the feeling is that the entire world starts treating you as a threat rather than a survivor. The game gives you freedom, but it collects on that freedom with interest. The catch for me is that killing a faction member is almost never just settling a fight. You aren't just taking down a random thug. You are messing with the balance of power, your reputation, and how NPCs view you from then on. From that point forward, entering bases and hubs becomes more tense, random encounters change their tone, and that peaceful trip turns into a paranoia festival because anyone might decide to take you out at the next corner. That's why the alternative of fleeing or using stealth isn't cowardice, it's pure strategy. There are times when the best victory is simply not becoming the permanent enemy of an entire group, especially if the loot isn't worth the price. Backing away slowly, circling around, turning off your flashlight, waiting for a patrol to pass. All of this feels slower, but it usually keeps you alive and, more importantly, keeps you neutral enough to keep moving and trading. The cruelest part is that the consequences really stick to you. One impulsive choice can follow you for hours, and you'll start to realize the whole game has become harder. Not for lack of skill, but for lack of diplomacy. So I like to think of it this way. Unless it's total self-defense or a dead-end situation, it's better to keep your finger off the trigger and save the violence for when it's truly inevitable.